Let us now get started with auto wiring in Spring. Already in session 1, we have got an introduction about Spring framework. Then we learned about dependency injection. In webinar 2, we learned what are the two types of dependency injection, what is IOC container, and then we also learned how to create a simple application using Maven. In this webinar also, we are not going to touch Spring Boot. You need to first understand how to use auto wiring in a just simple Maven application. So first let us understand what is auto wiring, what are the different types of auto wiring available, and we will take three examples. One simple example, a basic one, then a real example, how actually it works in a real-time scenario, and then one more application, again, with relevant to, which is relevant to auto wiring, we will understand. Okay, let us get started. If you are comfortable with the basic concepts of Java, it is very well easy to understand Spring. Spring is a framework which is built on top of Java. So if you are good in Java, automatically you can understand the concepts of Spring. Okay. Now let me get started. As I told you, let me first list out what are the topics that we are going to see. First, we will see a simple example. Example for auto wiring. First, actually, we need to understand what is auto wiring. Then an example of auto wiring. Then there are different types of auto wiring. So we will take a real-time example and work on that. Once we have understood it, then again we will work on one more example on auto wiring. While doing this, we will learn about the different types of auto wiring. Okay, fine. Now let us get started. Let me explain the concept of auto wiring. Okay, let us understand what is auto wiring. Already in the previous webinar, we have understood about auto wiring. We have done a very simple example. What is the advantage of Spring framework? It helps to develop loosely coupled application with using the concept of dependency injection. What exactly is the meaning of it? I have two classes. One is employee, the other class is address. Employee has an instance of address. In this case, address object has to be injected into employee. So for that, as a developer, if you are doing it, you need to either create an address object first, then you create an employee object. While creating the employee object itself, you can inject address object. How? New employee of. You can pass address as parameter. This is one way. Or you can create a default constructor. Like how employee1 is equal to new employee. Then you can go in for employee1 dot set address. That is, you are calling the setter method of the employee class to set the address object into the employee object. Suppose say, what if there is a scenario wherein you forgot to add the new keyword? You have simply created address. Now what will happen? This address is not actually a object. It is only a reference. You are trying to pass a reference into an employee object. This and all will work perfectly fine. If you are trying to retrieve the properties of address, be it city or state, then what will happen? In that scenario, it will throw null pointer exception. Spring framework comes to the rescue of it. If one class has a dependency of another class, the dependency will be injected into this class automatically, either by using setter method, which is called as setter-based dependency injection, or using constructor, which is called as constructor-based dependency injection. This is what we have learned in the last week. Now, what is auto wiring? Auto wiring means automatically wiring the dependencies. What exactly is the meaning of it? Employee class depends on address. So, I have created the, let me just start it over here. I have an employee class here, class employee. Inside that, I have got address. Again, yeah, yes, tell me. Any question? Yeah, field-based injection is also there. Any question? Somebody has asked me a question. Okay, with and without Spring in this example. Okay, first let us start with the basics of Java. How exactly it will be in Java? How actually it is going to be in Spring? This is a normal Java class, correct? This is a simple Java class. Now, this is my simple address class. In address, let me have string name, string city and string state. In my employee class, let me have string employee name, EMP name. Now I want to create, assume that it is having getter methods and setter methods. This also is having getter setter methods. Suppose if you are working in Java as a Java developer in public static void main, you need to create the employee object. How will you do that? First, you need to create an employee object. Employee EMP is equal to. Guys, whatever I am showing you now is with respect to Java, and then I will show you directly how actually it is getting changed in Spring. So this is my public static void main. First one, what should I do? If I want to create an object, I need to create an employee object. There are two ways. I can create an employee object using the default constructor. Then I can call the setter method emp dot set name equal to set emp name, correct? Set emp name equal to Shri. And now I need to set the address object. What is address? Address is not a primitive type, it is a class by itself. So first I need to create the address object. It is something like address. Address is equal to new address. And then I need to set the values, right? Address dot set city, address dot set state. All that I need to write. And then emp dot set the address of, I need to pass the address object. I need to pass this address object. This is how you do in Java. This is what using the setter method. What if I have a parameterized constructor? Then in that case, I can use a parameterized constructor. Let us see how this can be done. If I am using a parameterized constructor, then I need to write the code as employee emp is equal to new employee of course, I need to pass the parameter, right? So in my case, I am having address, so I will pass address as parameter. So in this case, we are injecting, actually, you are setting the address to employee. In terms of Spring, we call it as I am injecting address into employee. Here also, I am injecting address into employee. In this case, we are using the setter method. In this case, we are using the constructor. I hope this part is clear. When you are working with Java, as a Java developer, it is your duty that explicitly you need to create the address object and you need to set the address object into employee. Okay, so this is, in this case, what is happening? It is tightly coupled. Suppose if somebody comes and adds few more properties to the address object, or if somebody removes the address itself from employee, so what will happen? My whole application will break. The whole code will break. I am trying to use a parameterized constructor. If there is no parameterized constructor at all, in that scenario also the code will break. But if you are working with Spring framework, they are not tightly coupled. It is something like already in the previous webinar I told you. If I want to work with if I am sitting in a desktop, I am tightly coupled. But if I am using a laptop, I can move from one room to another room. You are having a wireless mouse, then it means it is loosely coupled. If I am plugging my mouse continuously, it means it is tightly coupled. All these things you need to understand. Tightly coupled means one class depends on another class very badly. If the other class object is not available, this class will break. Now my laptop is and mouse is there. If I want to type, I need a mouse. So I am just plugging the mouse. It means the laptop depends on the mouse very badly. It is tightly coupled. Wherever I am taking my laptop, I need to carry the mouse like this in my hand because there is a wire. What if there is a scenario they are wireless? I can just keep the laptop somewhere. If the based on the range, I can sit and work with my mouse. Just like your AirPods and your mobile. You keep your mobile somewhere, you put your AirPods, you roam around and you listen to music. It is loosely coupled. Suppose if you are working with wired earphones, it means what? Every time you need to have your hand, phone in your hand. Only then you can listen to music. That is tightly coupled. Now, let us come to Spring Framework. In Spring Framework, if a class has another class as dependency, then the dependencies are injected using setter methods or constructor. Now, what I want, if in case of Spring Framework, whenever Spring is responsible for creating all the objects in our application. So for that, in this case, we are having our employee class. So what should I do? I should annotate it with @component annotation. And I want address object also to be created by Spring Framework. So I can add @component annotation. So the first step is done. What is the next step? Address employee depends on address. So address object should be injected into employee. So what I can do? I can inject it either using setter method or using constructor. In the previous week, that is what we have done. So suppose say if I am having a set address method, above set address, we are using @autowired. What is the meaning of @autowired? Wiring the dependencies automatically. How does this happen? Let me explain you. Suppose say above the address instance variable, I am adding @autowired. So we have learned setter-based dependency injection. We have learned constructor-based dependency injection. Now above the address instance variable, let me add the annotation. @autowired. Now what will happen? Automatically wire address object into employee object. When you give in this manner, how does Spring Framework know? Okay, fine, I need to create an employee object. I need to create address object, inject address into employee based on the variable name. Here you have given address. So what it will do is, it will go in search of a Spring bean with the name address. What exactly it is? I have employee class, I have address class. The moment you run the application, the IOC container will create the employee object first. Okay, because you have given @component. And now suppose I don't want the bean name to be employee, means I can give a different name. Within quotes, if I add double quotes EMP, what will be the bean name? EMP. If I don't add anything, the class name in lowercase will be the bean name. Suppose if the class name is employee details, then the bean name is employee details. It will be in camel case, E lowercase and D uppercase. That is how it is. In our case, I don't want to add anything, so my bean name is employee. What about address? In case of address, the bean name is address. So in this scenario, if you are having, let me just delete it and I will just add it again. Now here I have my employee class, which is having address as instance variable. Address. See the spelling? Now I have address class. And both the classes are annotated with @component annotation. @component annotation. And above address, I have added @autowired. When you run this application, first Spring Framework, that is the IOC container, will create an object for employee. The Spring bean name will be lowercase employee. Then it will create an object of address. The bean name will be address. Then it identifies that employee depends on address. So it will go in search of a bean which is same as that of the instance variable name. The instance variable name and the bean name should match. Now here there is a bean with the same name. So automatically this dependency will be injected into employee. So already we have seen this example in the last week. We have seen if I have created a class, I have added address. It is simple that I add @autowired. What will happen? Automatically the injection happens. Address object will be injected into employee. This is okay, fine. Now let us see a very bigger scenario. I will first explain the application code here. Then we will go to Eclipse and we will try it out from there. Okay. Now let me explain. I am having an interface shape. In this interface, let me have one single method area, which takes two parameters, int x, int y. Let us have the return type as void. Okay. Yes. Two examples we will do. Let me first start with this example, void. And let us have three implementation classes. Triangle, rectangle, and also square. I know for square, we need both the values to be same. So I assume that both the values are same. So rectangle, triangle, and square. Next is, I have one other class, shape factory. The shape factory class has an instance of shape. Shape. And here, let us have a method as print area, which takes int x, int y. Void print area. Now, using the shape reference, if you are doing it in Java, you need to write shape is equal to new square or shape is equal to new triangle. And then you will call the method shape dot area. Guys, this is what is this actually? One interface, multiple implementation classes, right? So using interface reference equal to new implementation class, we are calling the method. As I told you, whatever you are seeing here is plain Java only. Shape dot area x comma y. Okay. So this is our code. Now, if I am going to use Spring, I don't have to write this particular line. I want Spring framework to create objects for my application. So what is the first annotation that I need to add? I need to add component annotation. Wherever the objects has to be created, I need to add component annotation. What about shape? Shape is an interface. Can I create an object of shape? No. So you cannot add any annotation above this interface. Next, I have triangle, rectangle, square. All these three are classes which are implementing shape. So all the three classes can be annotated with component annotation. Correct? Okay. Now let us come to shape factory. Shape factory also is a class shape factory. So what should I do? I need to add component annotation at shape above shape factory. Shape factory depends on shape. So what should I give? Shape factory depends on shape. What is the annotation that I should add? Any idea? Guys, share it in the chat window. One class depends on another class means what is the annotation that I need to use? Yeah, very good. Anybody else? We need to use Autowired annotation. Very good, excellent. Autowired annotation. Now I am adding Autowired annotation. As usual, what we need to do, we need to create the main class. In the main class, we will be creating the IOC container. We will try to create an object of shape factory. But what about shape? Shape factory depends on shape. But when I talk about shape, I am not having one single instance, but I am having three different implementations. So the IOC container will get confused whether to call triangle or rectangle or square. So it will throw an exception. What exactly it is, let us see. First, I will talk in terms of Java. Then we will convert our application into Spring. And then we will see the exception. And then we will rectify the exception. Okay, open Eclipse. Guys, I have still not started with Spring Starter project. So here also, file new Maven project. Create a simple project. Click next. The first one is group ID. The group ID is nothing but the package name. Let me give the package name as com.example. It is not the package name what you are having in your application. It is the package in which the deployed jar file will be sitting. Let me give the application name as Spring Basics and click finish. Packaging is jar. Now application is getting created. Let me open form.xml. Artifact ID is the project name. Group ID is the package name. When you say package name, it's not the original package name. Technically, this is the package in which your jar file will go and sit. Now we need to add the dependencies. Let me go to the browser. So search for Spring Context Maven. Let me click on this. You can select the latest version also. Always choose the version. Always choose the version which is being downloaded very often. Okay, so in our case 6.1.3. Keep the cursor here. Automatically it will be copied. Come back to Eclipse. Now within dependencies tag. Dependencies. You need to add the dependency that we have copied. You can notice over here under Maven dependencies, we have got all the jar files, context, AOP, bean, score. These are the basic modules that we need if you are going to create a standalone application. Okay. Now let us get started with the application. Select SRC main Java, right click, new interface. The package name is com.history.autowiring. The interface name is shape. Okay. Let me open the interface. Within this, let us add the method void area int x comma int y. Let us create the implementation class. Select your package, right click, new class. Let us have the class name as triangle. Triangle implements shape. I want the object to be created by Spring framework for this particular class. So the class should be annotated with that component, within which override the method and write the logic. Similarly, we need to create the rectangle class. Select your package, right click, new class. Class name is rectangle. And the interface name is shape. So let me select it from here. Click finish. Automatically the method is implemented. Now annotate this class with add component and write the logic. So rectangle plus x into y. Triangle also. Yeah, we have done that. One more class we need to create, that is square. Let me copy paste and modify the code. Control C, Control V. The class name is square. Let me open the square class. It is annotated with that component. Let us change this to square. And let us have it as simply x into y. Sorry, x into x. Next, let us create the shape factory class. New class. The class name is shape factory. This shape factory class is having an instance as shape. And it should be annotated with add component. And let us add one more method. Public void print area. It takes two parameters, int x comma int y. Now, if I am doing it in Java, then what should I do? I have to explicitly write the code as shape is equal to new triangle. And then shape dot area by passing x comma y. Guys, remember, first let us see how it is working in Java. Then we will modify the code to Spring. So don't bother about that component annotation. Even though if it is added, there will be no use. Java will not even understand that. Okay, select your main class. Sorry. Now we need to create the main class. Select your package, right click, new class. Auto main. We need to have public static void main. Click finish. Okay, what is the use of add component annotation? If you add component annotation above the class, Spring framework will create an object for you. So in this case, Spring creates an object of this class. It will create an object of rectangle, triangle, shape factory and square. Okay, guys, but now to start with, I don't bother using Spring. I'm going to do it in terms of Java. Rectangle, I have to remove square slash triangle slash. Okay. Now let me go to the main class. What is the first step? I need to create an object of shape factory. Shape factory, factory is equal to new shape factory and then factory dot print area by passing two values 10, 20. Let me save this. Guys, this is proper Java. Let me run the application. Yeah, the application has started. Here, see here the console is over here. It is printing triangle 100. Why? Because in the shape factory class, explicitly you have written this code. Shape is equal to new triangle. Assume you are writing the code. You thought that the object of shape or the reference of shape will be given in the main class. So you have not written this code. Now what will happen? The value of shape is null. And you are trying to call area on a null reference. In this scenario, it will throw null pointer exception. If you are working with Spring framework, you can avoid this because Spring is responsible for creating this object and injecting it into shape factory. But in my case, what I do, I assume that shape reference is created somewhere. So I am simply calling only shape.area. Now, if I run the application, let us see what is happening. It will throw null pointer exception. See? In which line? In auto main here, in shape factory Java 30. You are trying to invoke area method on a null reference. So that is the issue. Now let us see how this can be modified with the help of Spring framework. First thing is, I do not want to create an object of any of these classes. I want the IOC container to create the object. So you go and add component annotation above all the classes. Triangle, square and rectangle. Above all the classes, add component annotation. Above shape factory also. Okay. And I don't have to bother about this line. As I told you, as a Java developer, directly I will call shape.area. Whatever dependencies are there, it should be injected into shape factory automatically. Okay. Now let us see this. Above the shape, what is that we need to add? At Autowiring annotation. That's what we have done. In the previous application, when I had employee and address, I had only one class as address. I did not have implementation class. But what about shape? In case of shape, it has three implementations. Three implementations. Square, triangle and rectangle. Now, when I am asking the IOC container to create an object of shape and inject into shape factory, so it has to write the code as shape is equal to new rectangle, or it has to write shape equal to new triangle, or shape equal to new square. But how does it know whether to invoke triangle or rectangle or square? It doesn't know, right? Because there are three implementations. If you are working with the employee and address, employee is one single class, address is one single class. There are no subdivisions or anything. So automatically it can write the code as address is equal to new address. But what about shape? There are three different implementations. Okay. Now what actually we are going to do is go to the main class. Let us see first what is the first step. Create the IOC container. My dear guys, when you are working with Spring Boot, this IOC container will be created automatically. We will be learning about that in the upcoming sessions. As of now, let us create the IOC container all by ourselves. So, how to create the IOC container? For this, we need to use application context. Application context is equal to new annotation config application context. We are using configuration metadata. The configuration metadata is annotation config application context. Okay. Now actually after writing it, I need to pass the package name. only then the IOC container can enter into that package and the sub packages of that to check what are all the classes that are annotated with that component. This is very important. So I need to give the package name as at com. Sorry, package name is com. Com or com.srishti, whatever you want. Next. I will never create an object of shape factory like this. Instead of writing this code, we will modify this code using get the bean from the IOC container from application context. So the method is context dot get bean. Can you see? It is expecting the name of the bean. What is the bean name? The bean name is in camel case. In our case, it is shape factory. S lowercase, F uppercase. Shape factory. And the return type of this get bean is a, so the first parameter is the name of the bean. You can leave it as such like this and you can have the return type as shape factory. Because the return type of context.getBean is shape factory. This is one way. If you don't want to do this, there is also one other way. Shape factory equal to context.getBean of pass the bean name, comma, shape factory dot class. Now this is done. So guys, see, if you are using Java, you will be creating the object. This is Java. But in case of Spring framework, you need to get the bean from the IOC container. Now what will happen? When you run this particular line, the IOC container will enter into this particular package. First, it will go and see what are all the classes available. It will create an object of triangle, create an object of square, create an object of rectangle. Then it will come to shape factory. Now it has to create an object of shape factory. While creating the object of shape factory, it understands that shape factory depends on shape. But what about shape? I am not having one single implementation, but I am having 3 different implementation. It is getting a confusion whether to inject square or rectangle or triangle. So in this case, it will throw an exception. Now let me go to the main class. See, I have added the code. Let me save this and run the application. How do you run it? Select your application, right click, run as Spring Boot app or Java application. Anything will work fine. Now let me scroll up. See, I am getting the exception. Let me scroll up to the top. Unsatisfied dependency exception. Error creating the bean with the name shape factory. Why? Because shape factory depends on shape. I don't have qualifying bean of type shape because I am expecting only one single bean. But you are giving me 3 beans. How will I know whether to map rectangle or to map square or to map triangle? So that is the issue. So what I need to do? Explicitly, I need to inform the IOC container, please map rectangle or map triangle. How to do that? So for that, we are going to use one more annotation which is called as at qualifier. Within that, you need to pass the bean name. Now I want to map rectangle. So what is the equivalent code for this? It is actually in Java. If you are doing it in Java, explicitly you are writing shape is equal to new rectangle. That is the meaning. So if more than one bean of the same type are available, you should use at qualifier annotation. Now Spring framework will understand, okay fine, I need to inject rectangle object into shape factory. Got it? If more than one bean of the same type are available. Let me save this and run it. Now we will get the proper output. Just printing rectangle. Is this clear? This is called as auto wiring by type. Whatever we have seen now is called as auto wiring by type. Fine. Now let us understand what is the meaning of auto wiring by name. So let me not mess up with this class. Of course, I can do it here. It will be confusing for you. So let me create one more class, new class. Let me give the class name as my factory. This is a class by itself, so it should be annotated with that component so that Spring framework can create an object of my factory. Now let me have the instance variable name as shape. Again, we'll copy the same method. Okay. This time, I am adding at auto-wide annotation. You all know when I am adding at auto-wide annotation, it will give me an exception because more than one bean of the same type is available. But I do not want to use at qualifier annotation. Then what should I do? That's what we are going to see. Let me go to auto main. So let me use my factory. Factory equal to, what is the bean name? Context dot get bean of. What is the bean name, my dear guys? The bean name is my factory. M lowercase, F uppercase. And again, you can pass the second parameter as my factory dot class. Because you are specified the class explicitly, automatically it knows that the object that is returned is of type my factory. Clear? Can I do shape equal to new shape of rectangle? Yeah, very nicely you can do. Shape equal to new shape of rectangle. How can you give new shape of rectangle? Why? Shape is an interface. You cannot create an object of shape. Clear? You cannot create an object of shape. Shape is an interface. Now, in the next line, we need to call factory.print area method. Now see, when I run this application, even in the first line itself, you will get an error. Why? Because the IOC container, while creating the object itself, it will create all the beans that are needed for our application. In our case, we are having my factory. My factory depends on shape. I cannot inject shape into my factory because there are 3 different implementations of shape. Okay. Now, what is the next step? Let me run it. I want to see the error. Auto main, there is an error, it is showing. Let me have it as M factory. The variable name is already available. M factory. Save it. Save all the classes and run the application. Now again I should get the exception. Unsatisfied dependency exception. No unique bean definition exception. Can you see that? The bottom. No qualifying bean of type shape available. I expected single, but I am finding out 3. So what should I do? Of course, you know that you can use qualifier. Instead of qualifier, is there any other way to map it? Let me go to the factory class. So this time we are going to learn about auto wiring by type. What should I do is, if the instance variable name, what is the meaning of, auto wiring by name? The first one, whatever we have seen is auto wiring by type. Type is what? Shape. The implementation classes are square, rectangle and triangle, which are of type shape. Now here we are going to do auto wiring by name. That is, if the instance variable name and bean name are same, auto wiring by name happens. Auto wiring by name happens. Okay. Now, how to do that? So, what should I do? What are the bean names? Rectangle, square, and triangle. So, what I can do is either I go to I go to any of these classes. I can change the bean name to shape. This is one way. But I don't want to change the name of the bean here. I'll go and change the instance variable name. Now, in this case, I will give triangle. So, what is the equivalent code? It is something like You are writing it as shape triangle is equal to new triangle. That is the meaning. And how will you call the method? Triangle dot area of x comma y. Now let us run the application again. Let me pull the console over here. Now you see triangle is mapped. So what is this called as? Auto wiring by name. First one what we have seen is auto wiring by type. In case of auto wiring by type, if the dependency has more than one implementation, you need to use at qualifier annotation by passing the bean name. And if you are using auto wiring by name, in that case, the instance variable name and the bean name should be same. What if I want to wire square? In this case, I can just change the name to square, or whatever instance variable name that you have given over here. Go to the square class and give it over here also. Together with that component, you need to pass it out. That is how you do auto wiring by name. And the third one is auto wiring by constructor. Of course, you can do auto wiring by constructor. Here itself, I will show you in my factory. Let me add one more instance variable, shape square. I don't want to use at auto wide annotation. I can go in for a parameterized constructor. So how will you do that? Go to source, generate constructor using fields, only for square. So I'm going in for a parameterized constructor. This is equivalent to shape square is equal to new square. And what is this? Auto wiring by constructor. Okay. And I want to call that method. So directly I can use square dot print area. Sorry, square dot area by passing x and y. Is this clear? So if more than one instance variable of the same type is available, it is mandatory that you should use either qualifier or have the bean name and the instance variable name same. So this is how it works. Shape is an interface, rectangle, triangle, square are classes. Then what is my factory and shape factory? My factory and shape factory are totally separate classes. They don't have any relationship with this shape class. Shape factory has a dependency of shape. It is something like this. I will explain you. Let me explain you this one. Very simple. Now, you are the client. Okay. Now you are going to a factory outlet. That factory outlet. So these are, you can just, yeah, you are going to a factory outlet, which depends on, or you are going to a showroom. Okay, you want to buy some leather items, maybe shoes, jackets, and so on. So there is a factory outlet, okay, which is nothing but it is like shape, within under which you are having jackets, shoes, and what else, like dumbbells. Now, this showroom depends on shape, like just like how you have added. Shape factory is something like which depends on shape. Shape has 3 different implementation. Same thing I can tell you again. One more example. You are a customer. You go to the restaurant. Okay. The restaurant depends on waiter or the chef. The chef who can prepare Chinese, Indian, Italian. Even instead of restaurant, I can have it as a waiter. The waiter depends on the chef. So waiter will have chef as instance variable. Chef has 3 different implementation. So under chef, I can have a Chinese person who's doing the Chinese items. One chef is doing the Indian items. One chef who is doing the Italian items. That's how it is. Okay. Shape factory is a class which depends on shape. So here I will come to the same way. There is a kid. He wants to learn about the area of shapes. So he is calling one particular, maybe a teacher, which is a shape factory class, which depends on shape, under which I am having three different implementation: triangle, square, and rectangle. Okay. If we do auto wiring by name or type, then we have to create exactly. Very good. Exactly. Very good. You need to create. Is there any other way to call these specific classes without being each time? No, you cannot do it. Very good. Excellent. Because if you are working with Spring also, Java also, you write shape is equal to new triangle or new rectangle or new square. It means what? You are creating three different objects. New triangle, new rectangle, new square. They are three different objects. Very good. What will happen if I write two at qualifier? You cannot. With two different bean names, you can write it. It is something like you can do it in this manner. Whatever you are asking is good. Like say for example, I want to calculate the area of triangle, square and rectangle for all the three. So what I can do? I'll go to the shape factory. Then I will add one more at auto-wide annotation. And this is next shape or T shape, triangle shape. So here I will pass triangle. So equivalent of this is what? New triangle. And similar to this, I can have for square also. This is clear. New square. Here I need to pass the bean name. Remember the bean name should be in lowercase. And here I can call T shape dot area by passing x comma y and S shape dot area by passing x comma y. See, if you are doing it in Java also, you have to write it like this only. Shape is equal to new triangle, shape equal to new square, shape equal to new rectangle. But here, in this case, you are creating three different references. In Java, you will use one reference for three different objects. In Spring, you need to create three different references pointing to three different objects. That's how it is. And now, let me run the application. My factory, did we change it? So where is the exception? Let us check it out. The third type of auto wiring is auto wiring by constructor. Let me check where the exception is. In line number 10. Error creating my factory because unsatisfied dependency using the constructor parameter. No qualifying bean of type expected single matching bean but found 3. So this is giving error for my factory. Now let us go to my factory. In my factory, square class and component is added. We are using auto wiring by constructor. Actually, you don't need this at auto wide annotation also. I will add it above the instance variable. Square multiple shape. We go to the main class. Still I'm getting error. Let me check it out. Yes. Now here we have got the output for shape factory. You can see this is first one is for triangle because we are using qualified triangle. Sorry, first one is for rectangle because we are using qualified rectangle. Second one is for triangle. Third one is for square. So this is called as auto wiring by type. If there are more than one instance available, we are doing auto wiring by type. And in this case, we are doing auto wiring by name. Auto wiring by name is if the instance variable name and the bean name are same, then in that case, auto wiring happens. You'll see. And here also I am trying to call triangle.area, square.area. So what is auto wiring by constructor? If I am having only one single class, I can create a constructor. I don't even have to use that auto wide annotation. Automatically it will work perfectly fine. This is clear? Any doubts? Okay. I hope this is clear. This is all about auto wiring. The next session we will learn about Java based configuration. Once we have understood about Java based configuration and the scope of Spring Bean, we will move on to Spring Boot. So I hope the session was useful for you guys. Any questions? Java based configuration. When you are going to work with Java based configuration, in that scenario only you will be using at configuration annotation. Okay. This is very important. When will you use Java based configuration? Only when you are going to work with inbuilt classes. If you cannot create an object of your own inbuilt classes, then you need to use Java based configuration. That is a very interesting concept. We will deal about that, or we will discuss about that in the next webinar. Fine. So thanks everyone.